Hello and welcome. I'm Catherine from Friends First, and today I'm going to be talking to you about how you consider another member's profile when you receive them through the post. Now this is a really critical subject because we find that many members, when we speak to them, say, I've looked at so-and-so's profile and he didn't seem right or she didn't seem right for me. And we're absolutely sure that as a result of these judgments that people are making based on reading profiles, that they are missing people that are absolutely perfect for them. And we know this to be true because we've had many people who've met because one person's contacted the other and the other hasn't seen the profile, and once they've met, it's been a match made in heaven. So, getting your judgment of other people's profiles absolutely spot on is really critical to your future and to the people you meet through Friends First. Now I've got a couple of profiles here in front of me. They're of guys, but it equally applies for women. And we're going to look at each of them and see what might happen when we look at them in a certain way. So the first is of Steve. Now Steve grew up in a Christian home in the Northwest and made his faith his own as a teenager. Now the first thing you might think is, well, he grew up in the Northwest. Now if you come from the South, you might think, well, I'm going to make a generalisation about all people in the Northwest. I know what they're like, and perhaps they're not for me. Obviously, if you're from the Northwest, you definitely won't be thinking that because you'll know how lovely those people are. But you might be thinking, oh, he grew up in the Northwest, we've got nothing in common. Mistake number one. He may have grown up in the Northwest, but until you get to know him and speak to him, you'll never know what his background is really like. That's a little bit of information he's given us, but not much to go on. He then tells us that he moved to Surrey whilst he was at Oxford University. Now again, for some people, going to university is going to be a great thing, and that's going to be very encouraging. For others, maybe that's going to put you off. But unless you speak to him, unless you meet him in person, you won't really know what his experience of Oxford University is like and what sort of person he is as a result. He works as an accountant now. Now I know many people think that accountants are rather dull, but I can tell you from personal experience that I've met some lovely, lovely, lovely accountants, and they do a whole variety of jobs. So don't look at somebody's job and think, oh, well, I know what that sort of job person is like and therefore I will or won't contact them. That's a really big mistake. Steve tells us that he attends a C of E church and describes his faith as evangelical and ultimately the real foundation of his life. Now that's fantastic, but again you might think, oh well, I know what evangelicals are like. Again, it's very easy to make generalisations, and he's going to be too charismatic for me. That, quite honestly, is not necessarily the case. You simply don't know unless you've spoken to him. He describes himself as being blokish but not laddish. Now those terms, again, come with a lot of meaning. What do they mean to you? They may mean something completely different to him. Unless you actually contact him to find out what he means, you could be missing somebody that's perfect for you. Steve goes on to tell us about the sports he plays and the various things he does. Now he plays cricket. Again, you might think that cricket is a very uninteresting sport, perhaps, if you've never played it before, and therefore you might make a judgment about him. Or you might think, oh, he's obviously going to be going out and playing cricket every Sunday. You simply don't know. Perhaps he played cricket as a child at school or at university and hasn't really played it very much since. Again, until you actually speak to him, you simply don't know. So, Steve ends his profile by saying that he's looking for someone who's genuine, active, with an independent spirit. Now this is his wish list. This isn't necessarily going to be the characteristics of the person that Steve ends up marrying. Hopefully she will be genuine, active and have an independent spirit, but there are masses of girls out there who perhaps aren't that active, perhaps aren't that independent of spirit, that could be really perfect for Steve. So although this is his wish list, don't use it as your guidance of whether to contact him or not. Let's look at a couple more. We've got Matt here, who went to a grammar school. Again, with each of these things that I'm picking out, when I say the word, or when you read the word, when you're looking at the profile, you're going to have a picture in your mind's eye. And I want to get across to you that that picture isn't necessarily correct. So you might think, oh, well, Matt went to a grammar school, therefore he's this type of person. You really, really can't tell. Matt describes himself as affectionate, demonstrative, and gentle. Now, those might be lovely characteristics that you think are really wonderful, or perhaps they might put you off. Either way, you don't know what Matt is really like. We do make generalisations about people, and yes, 8 times out of 10, those generalisations might be correct. But we're not looking for the 8 out of 10. We're looking for the 2 out of 10 that are completely different, that are a surprise, that are the people that's just right for you. So I'm going to end this little video clip by saying next time you look at somebody's profile, really consider carefully what's going through your head. When you read they play golf, when you read they've gone to a charismatic church or even a Catholic church, something that's very different to your own, don't make a judgment of what they're like. Use the profile as a very, very general way to get to know someone. Use it as the first way to contact them so that you've got something in common when you speak. Like, I know you play cricket, I know somebody who plays cricket, or I see you went to a Catholic school, I know somebody who went to a Catholic school. That's really what the profile is for. It's not for judging whether you two are going to hit it off, because until you've spoken to them and met them in person, you really won't know. So please use this advice next time you're looking at profiles and make sure that you contact more people as a result, because we don't want you to miss out on somebody that could be perfect for you just by 1 or 2 words that they've written in their profile. Good luck with looking at your next set of profiles, and we look forward to hearing from you soon. Bye bye.